A commercial truck driver makes an overnight run through rural Japan. He rounds a bend in the highway and hits the brakes. Standing on the shoulder of the dark road, perfectly still, is a woman wearing an immaculate traditional Chinese bridal dress. For over 1,000 years, the ghost marriage tradition allowed grieving families to purchase a deceased bride to be buried alongside their unmarried son. Today, that ancient superstition has mutated into a violent commodity. The women being acquired for these ceremonies are often very much alive when the transaction begins. The driver steps out of his cab to help. As he gets closer, he notices a long, red thread tied around the woman's ankle. The thread is taut, trailing away from the asphalt and disappearing into the dark soil of the adjacent rice field. The thread moves, pulled by something heavy hidden in the fog. This physical tether grounds the folklore myth in a grim, literal reality. The truck driver has walked directly into an active crime scene. Following the discovery in the field, Detective Nishimura and journalist Yuki Kurosawa independently begin mapping a terrifying pattern. They cross-reference municipal records and uncover 27 young women who have vanished across Japan without a single lead. The syndicate targets a specific demographic: Chinese international students. These women arrive in the sprawl of Tokyo on temporary language school visas, with no local safety nets and no family nearby to report them missing. When a student stops attending, the schools frequently falsify withdrawal paperwork to avoid regulatory scrutiny. Local police treat the absences as routine visa overstays, dismissing the missing girls as runaways who simply packed up and went home. Predator networks operate within this institutional silence. Because the system is designed to prioritize clean paperwork over human lives, it creates a vacuum where disappearances can happen in plain sight. The pipeline begins at the schools. Local brokers lure students away with false promises of lucrative, off-the-books employment in the countryside. Once victims leave their dormitories, they are moved to transit warehouses registered to legitimate-looking front companies. Inside, soundproofed rooms are used to process the victims before they are prepared for international smuggling. The syndicate uses a brutal logistical method for transport. They place the victims in small, modified wooden shipping boxes, effectively burying them alive for the journey across the sea. This cross-section shows the crate's mechanics. A narrow air tube and a red thread tied to the victim's wrist feed through the wood to a monitoring guard. Crates are buried in fields for 3 days, a stress test ensuring survival during transit to rural China. This is an industrialized version of an ancient practice. The syndicate has built a mercilessly efficient supply chain optimized for cross-border human trafficking. The architect of this network is Seiji Moriwaki. He is a wealthy elite and a fixture of the Japan-China business alliance, operating far above the street-level criminals usually associated with trafficking. Moriwaki's finances reveal a cynical loop. He routes ghost bride profits through shell companies, then donates the money to anti-trafficking charities. These tax-deductible donations buy public goodwill and political protection. By funding organizations meant to combat his crimes, he builds a perfect shield against investigation. When Detective Nishimura pulls the 2019 files on Moriwaki, he finds the investigation was buried by a closure stamp from his superior, Chief Inspector Yamamoto. The department isn't just failing to find the syndicate, its leadership is being blackmailed to protect it. The syndicate's primary weapon is the systemic corruption of the institutions meant to stop it. With the official chain of command completely compromised, Detective Nishimura and journalist Yuki are forced to operate completely outside the boundaries of the law. Bypassing official channels, Nishimura uses Yuki's documentation to launch a rogue raid on the Narima transit warehouse. The raid secures warrants and captures low-level intermediaries, but the institutional leak works. Moriwaki is tipped off in time to flee the country, escaping the prosecutor's reach entirely. The final mathematics of the case are devastating. Out of 27 missing women, 14 are found alive, 4 are confirmed deceased, and 9 remain pulsing on the list of the unknown. This subverts the promise of a clean resolution. In transnational crime, justice is rarely absolute. Instead, it leaves a permanent, unfillable void for the families left behind. In the 2 months following her escape, Chen Lingling returned to the warehouse multiple times. She spent weeks surveilling the facility on her own, documenting the syndicate's movements to help rescue the women she knew were still trapped inside. The story denies us traditional catharsis. It is instead a meditation on living with ambiguous grief and a system that remains persistently broken. Nishimura returns to the dark highway where the first woman was found. He places a frayed piece of red thread onto the roadside. When the mastermind is free and the system remains indifferent, the quiet act of bearing witness is the only true resistance against the darkness.